They offered me some money to fight on the July card.
Yep.
I think it was co-main.
Okay.
Against Shadesha.
Shadesha Green.
Yeah, but their money was not nowhere near what I make.
So did you view that as disrespectful as well?
That's disrespectful, and then also too, how you want to work with somebody and you want to be cool with somebody, but y'all don't even be respectful of who they are. Like, I'm not saying, first of all, some stuff is facts, but then some things are opinions. And it was like, when it like come to how I box, being a woman fighter, all my accomplishments, how I continue to get better, my defense, my offense, I am pound for pound number one. That's just period. If anybody comes close, it's Katie. But still, Katie struggles with fighters who are very, very aggressive. I don't struggle with nobody.
Clarissa thinks it's a matter of fact, not opinion, that she is the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the sport, and yet if you ask around, you don't get the same answer every time. Pound for pound, in and of itself as a conversation, is a matter of opinion. It's a highly subjective subject. She mentioned Katie as a close second, as if her quality of competition is really on par with Katie Taylor's, or her schedule of activity. They both debuted the same year, and Katie literally has more fights than Clarissa against better opponents. We've done that head count a million times. But this isn't even what I noticed when she spoke to Ariel Helwani. What I noticed is that she glossed over the offer sent to her from MVP. She didn't spend a lot of time on that. All she said was, it's not on par with what she makes. I don't believe her? Not for a second. And you want to know why? This was for a co-main event slot. You expect me to believe that MVP through Netflix offered Clarissa peanuts on the dollar for a co-main event slot? So then why is so many girls that are with so many different promoters all flocking to MVP? Because they're paying girls peanuts on the dollar? That's what you expect me to believe? Or is it that you supposedly make so much more money than they do, MVP couldn't afford you? Bullshit. Dimitri Salita, Clarissa's career-long promoter, doesn't have it in the budget to pay anybody 7 figures, Clarissa included. You look out in the stands at Clarissa's fights, and there are empty seats all over the place. That you're not making so much, you need to be turning your nose up at the offer from MVP. See, what I think it is, Clarissa needs an excuse not to work with them. So she'll pretend that they lowballed her.
Can we end on this MMA? Are we ever going to go back?
Oh, no, MMA is done, sweetheart.
We're done?
Yeah.
That's it?
It
2-1.
was fun.
Winning record.
It was fun.
Why done?
It's just I don't have enough time to train for it.
Yeah.
It takes 6 months, 8 months to just get ready to defend takedowns. And even though I got a lot better.
You did.
I got a lot better. I put in time.
I give you credit for even doing it, to be honest.
I'm looking at my arm broken twice.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, it was fun, and I enjoyed every fight. You know, I did. But I was talking to one, my family never wanted me to do it.
Okay.
So I did it because I wanted to prove a point. I proved that point to me 3 times, but you can say twice because I won twice. But I proved that point, and I was offered one more fight with the PFL. And it would have been against a girl who was like, you know, probably on my level.
It wasn't Savannah, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No. But it was just like for
I believe that Clarissa lied there again. She lied when Ariel asked her the fight that the PFL offered her. Was it Savannah Marshall? She said she doesn't believe it was. Doesn't believe? You don't know? and there was a pause. You saw it. Don't act like you didn't. When Clarissa signed to the PFL, Savannah Marshall followed her over there, and it's not me connecting dots. It's not a secret that the PFL themselves were interested in doing the rematch between them in the Octagon, going as far as inviting Clarissa to Savannah's match. She was there, and they did a little mock face-off after Savannah won. I think the fight that the PFL offered Clarissa Shields was the Savannah Marshall fight, at which point she decided to come back to boxing. I think it was the Savannah Marshall fight because Clarissa had already had 1 or 2 fights with them, with the PFL. Like a 2 to 3 fight deal that caps off with a Savannah Marshall rematch. And that's what I think they offered Clarissa, and that's what I think she turned down. And I think she just lied about that because she doesn't like how it sounds or how it looks, that the PFL offered you money to fight Savannah again, Boxer offered you money to fight Savannah again. MVP is about to, you know they are, because Savannah just signed to them. And if they do, what is the excuse gonna be? That they don't have enough money for big bad Clarissa who's fighting soup ladies in a barren weight class? Clarissa won the Savannah Marshall fight, no questions there, but I've maintained in the subsequent years that followed, she doesn't want that rematch, that it was difficult for her, more difficult than she lets on, and I think Savannah really hurt her. More than people realized? When she said 2 years ago that the only way the rematch happens is if it's in America, she said that knowing that there's nobody in America to pay for it. Her promoter ain't got more money than Boxer. So when you say that, it must be with the intention of not doing the rematch. Now enters MVP and Netflix, who have way more money than a Dimitri Salita, more than Boxer. They can pay for it to happen in America. But what's the excuse gonna be then? They're so disrespectful. You rather fight women nobody knows in weight classes nobody watches with nobody in them. No, she doesn't have to fight Savannah again. Though if beating her were as easy as she made it out to be, that she dog-walked Savannah, then I don't see why you wouldn't just go in there and dog-walk her again for even more money on an even bigger platform. Stands to reason. It would be bigger than anything you've done in the years that followed your initial meeting. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
So, we are talking, we're in negotiations for Duran to fight Teofimo. And it's a hell of a fight. And Duran, you know, you heard His Excellency, he said it there, you know, and this is just the last 48 hours.
Bruce Ennis better leave Teofimo Lopez alone. He better leave him alone. I'm telling y'all. Yes, leave that boy alone. He a real one. I know what all that racist rant and stuff like that. Hey, that's one thing. When I'm talking about boxing, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm here to tell y'all, he got what it takes to beat Boots Ennis. Man, the 2 most athletic fighters in the game.
So Duran's been chilling out. You know, there is a date in August that we could be looking at in Saudi Arabia. But we weren't really expecting to fight in August, if I'm honest.
Damn, if they was to go head to head. Woo-wee. Yeah, Boots got all the attributes. He got the height, he got the long arms. But you know who got the better timing? That's Teofimo Lopez. You know who's athletic? Who was the last athletic guy that Boots fought? Karen? Karen was the last one? Yeah. And don't think that Boots gonna be able to out-punch him. Don't think that.
You know, we was expecting to fight in September, October. We have a mandatory challenger in Chakram Girsov, who stepped aside for the Stanionis fight. But I believe there's a conversation to be had there.
No, he not. Because you go back, you watch that Claggett fight. That boy Teofimo Lopez, he got some lungs too. When he full-fledged and hungry, he got lungs too. He threw almost 1,000 punches in that fight. Yeah, Boots, I see you. Your numbers is quite high. You around 600, 500, 600, close to 700 sometimes. But guess who can match that output? Teofimo Lopez.
And I've got a call with Duran and Everett and the team and Bozy in about an hour to see if that's something we want to do. I will say there is still the conversation about 47-54. You know, it is inevitable.
Yeah, Boots. All them little lapses you be having, you ain't gonna be able to have them lapses with Teofimo Lopez. Oh no. That dude is on his game. When he right, when his mind right, it's hard to beat that dude. explosive, smart. He got a high IQ as well as you do. So look, I'm letting y'all know. Eddie Hearns, if you listening, I'm telling you, if you don't want your guy to get beat, stay away from Teofimo Lopez. You want to give him a couple more fights before he fight that guy? I know Tio is moving up to 47. I get that. Yeah, y'all gonna say the power and all that. Oh, I get all of that. But like I told y'all, hey.
I am nowhere near as convinced of Teofimo Lopez's abilities as Hall of Fame inductee and former two-division champion Timothy Bradley, but at the same time, I don't have the best track record with Teofimo Lopez's fights that I do with some others. So what is it that I'm not seeing that perhaps Timothy is seeing? Now stylistically, Teo may have some of the right ingredients for an aggressive puncher like a Jaron Ennis, some, though not all, the main one being size. Teofimo Lopez has not the size. It's established that Teo was a much harder puncher at 135 than he has been at 140, and I don't imagine it's going to get better at 147. Against bigger guys with a bigger punch and more durability, I'm not seeing it. Now, beating Arnold Barboza, good as that might be, doesn't speak to what a Boots fight would look like because Arnold is not a carbon copy of Boots. Eddie Hearns said that 4 days ago he was going to talk to Boots' team about that fight. Now, I don't know what may or may not have happened since then, since that's the last we heard of it, but Tim is convinced that Teo is all wrong for Boots. And like I said, maybe style-wise, there are some things that Teo brings to the table, but you have to account for the difference in size, and size matters. Don't let anybody tell you different. In my previous video, we talked about ring coverage. What is it, and why does Boots have it? Why does it matter? The difference in height, the difference in length, having longer legs, makes for longer strides. To cover a lot of ground very quickly, making the ring a very small place for a Teofimo Lopez. Then you tack on the wingspan that Boots doesn't need to be close to Teofimo to touch him with punches, but Teo does. He does need to be closer to Boots because his arms are shorter, and so is he. Shooting straight punches from the outside coming in, Boots would leave Teo with little choice but to either block or move. Because if you're still there after Boots steps into the jab and brings over a backhand, you're in trouble. You're not going to outgun this guy. No, I don't think for a second Teo packs the same punch that Boots does. So why is Timothy Bradley so convinced that Teo has the answers? I don't know if this is just him towing the line for the top-ranked fighter, because Teo would be representing top rank in this matchup against the Matchroom. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if I'm just not giving Teo enough credit. Maybe he's a credible threat to Boots, but I don't see it.
I don't know why everybody's talking about this Lopez Boots fight. I mean, it's crazy. Lopez has had a knockout since 2022. People can argue he lost to Sandor Martin. He struggled with Jermaine Ortiz. Couldn't get out a Steve Clackett.
All the familiar talking points. I bring them up myself. Teofimo hasn't had a spectacular run as a super lightweight that I should now think he's going to have one as a welter and against Boots of all people. I don't know what Timothy sees that I'm not seeing. The saving grace is, it doesn't even matter what I think. If Teo is serious about having this fight, and he says that he is, and Turkey is serious about making it, then I see no reason it shouldn't happen. The money is there, the opportunity is there. They may have to get Shakram Gayasov to step aside, but I don't think that'll be hard to do. Throw him some money. That if Teofimo Lopez really is the answer for Jaron Ennis, he's the secret weapon. There's only one way to find out. And he says he's willing to, so make the fight. Make it happen over the summer months. No other champions are available for Boots to unify with. So the undisputed dream is on hold anyway. You weren't going to be able to unify this summer anyway, but if this little ragamuffin is calling you out, answer the call. Make an example out of him. He would probably get more press and more plaudits for knocking out Teofimo than what he got for knocking out Stanionis. It's a more high-profile fight, more money. Make it happen. In men's heavyweight news, on the heels of his latest defeat, the question is asked, should Joyce retire? Joe Joyce is reportedly in contention to have a rematch with Tony Yoka of their battle in the amateurs, but should he retire, Joyce is on a terrible run of form, as he is no longer the same fighter who was once the WBO interim heavyweight champion. His decline began when he suffered 2 knockout losses to Zile Chang. He was stopped in devastating fashion in both fights. As his chin was no longer durable, Joyce's ability to walk through his opponents and take shots earned him the nickname the Juggernaut. I said it then. Before he suffered those 2 losses, I said it at the height of Joe's popularity that the only way you can amass a reputation like that one is by taking a lot of punishment. And this was at a time where Teddy Atlas was likening him to a modern-day George Foreman, and some were going as far as saying that he was Britain's best heavyweight at that time. Now, there is talk of a rematch with Tony Yoka. They faced off in the 2016 Olympics as Yoka secured a decision win to pick up the Olympic gold medal in their super heavyweight final. Yoka is capable of stopping his opponents. He has 14 wins, 13 of which were by way of knockout. He defeated Arsen Yalolev in his last fight to secure his 3rd win in a row. However, there is an argument that Joyce should retire. Joyce is no closer to securing a heavyweight title, meaning he must question his reasons to continue fighting. Joyce is currently 39 years old, as he will turn 40 this September. He has been a professional boxer since 2017, which is late for most boxers. Joyce's fighting style also doesn't help him, as he does not possess elite footwork to avoid getting dropped like he has been recently. Doesn't help that his base style at its very best never lended itself to his longevity, and that's why I cautioned early on, the only way you get a reputation like his for taking a good shot is by taking too many. Boxing is a dangerous sport where fighters risk staying too long. CTE is a problem that plagues fighters once they retire. This impacts their cognitive function after taking repeated blows to the head. Derek Chisora has raised worries over this, while Joyce has a similar fighting style. Joyce has earned enough money from the sport to retire, meaning there is no reason to continue with the risk. Everyone gets behind a statement like, oh, his chin, or I've got CTE, all this crap. I've still got my wits about me, I still enjoy myself, and there's still plenty of good fights out there, Joyce stated. Joyce will also struggle to attract promoters if he keeps coming up short. He does not want to enter a position where he is considered a journeyman or someone who is seen as a gatekeeper for bigger fights. That will reduce his ability to secure bigger purses, putting him in a weaker position to negotiate. Joyce must weigh up the risks moving forward. His world title aspirations are dashed. That much is obvious. But if every fighter had to retire because they didn't stand much of a chance of becoming a world champion, then most of the sport would retire. Most of the sport would walk away. Guys like Dave Allen, who's got 7 losses. 3 more than Joe. I think that Joe can continue to compete, but at the domestic level. He's done it world level. See about fighting guys like Frazier Clark, David Adilier, Moses Sitelma, because he would at least have experience over them. By that reckoning, he can continue. He can fight on, but it's got to be with the understanding that you're done at world level.